This conference will now be
Well, good morning,
recorded.
good afternoon for everybody, depending where you're joining us in the big, wide, beautiful world. We thank you for joining us today. This is the Flowerful Living Community Wellness Hour. And today, we were talking yesterday about all kinds of statistics and things that were coming up we thought that were very interesting. And Maria had shared that recent studies show that alcohol consumption has dropped significantly with millennials and Gen Zs, and only about 50% of adults between 18 and 34 report drinking daily, which I think is amazing and wonderful. And makes me kind of think about 12 step and how that's really helped people to come from a new thing. And even 12 steps evolved, which is really wonderful. And it says that it's down from 72% from 2 decades ago. And Gen Z's account this that the alcohol sales for 25 and 26 are dropping significantly, and they're going into mocktails and alternative. You got your mushroom drinks, you got all these other kinds of drinks that people are doing, which is I
Gotta
enjoy
watch
those
out for
more
those
myself
mushrooms.
too. Exactly. Well, there's I don't know. I was going to say I haven't met a mushroom I didn't like, but we got to be careful with that. So I think there's some mushrooms out there you're like, whoa, no, not going to go there. You gotta trust the pigs and the dogs to find those good mushrooms. You know how
All
that
right,
goes.
so what are we talking about today, Robin?
So we're talking about really coming from the points of Amy's going to talk about it's all about staying connected to yourself in ways that are just simple and really profound in ways that we're really kind of bringing back all the things that we used to do, I think, because the internet and everything online has really been something that really helps us to be able to want to go. It reminds me of a book that used to be really popular in the 80s and 90s called Megatrends.
Hmm.
And Megatrends, even back in those days, was talking about the more we do technology, the more we're going to want to have soft, they called it soft trends of hobbies and all the different things that we do to nurture us, because technology is going to be in a place where we just it all wants us to be engaged with our minds instead of our hearts, instead of our whole being. And so today we're going to talk about that, of ways that we can do self-care in kind of just some unique ways. So just kind of as a review, Amy's going to be talking about working from the shadow artist and the unique thing that crafts can really give us, and being able to reclaim our authentic voice and our authentic self. And then Maria is going to share about some adventures in her garden with her weeding that she's had going on, about really kind of looking at weeding from a new perspective. And today I'm going to talk about flowers and delightful surprises. So I'm excited to talk about that when we get to that. So, Amy, take it away.
Shadow. Well, that's always fun. It's one of my favorite topics. Here we go. I a friend of mine, she's with the National Guard, and she is part of the program for military and family support. And she got this cool idea to have she called it Craft Palooza Day. And that was on Saturday. And she asked me about, did I want to do a craft? Well, I could have done a craft as in doing some collaging or journaling, what people kind of look at as crafts. But I said, that's not the kind of crafter that I am. I said, the kind of craft I do is working with people and words to help them be who they're here to be, to find their voice. And I said, I'd be more than willing to kick off the day with some work on stepping into your creative self. And she said yes. And one thing that really made me happy, one of the things that she said, when she got this crazy idea, I was one of the first people she thought of to help make it happen. So, crazy ideas and me, we're the same. So yay. So and again, any questions with this? I really want to crack you open here a little bit and maybe look at things a little bit differently. What is creative? What does it mean to be a crafty person? And for me, of course, being related to Robin, who, is a very traditional crafter, flowers and drawing and all kinds of amazing things. I tried to live up to that for many years, and it was like, that's not possible. And so, where is my crafting voice? Where is my creativity? And so I'm really comfortable with it now, but it was really fascinating. Here we had, I don't know, 30, 40 people, men and women, all ages. And I started talking about creativity and how we get frozen. Anyone? Right? You say, now draw, right? Draw something or sing or, whatever it is. And there's a part of you. Yeah, we got our pencils. Hopefully you got your pencils. There's a part of you that goes, I remember when I was 6 and I drew a purple tree and I said I was wrong. And so I ain't drawing again. They ain't doing that. That ain't happening. And so what I want to challenge all of us is to own our voice in whatever craft way that is. So these are people who have never done any kind of work that, all of us here have. So I started off with having them, be with, okay, we're going to have this day of crafting. And it was all kinds of different crafts. And I know a lot of them were paralyzed by, oh my God, which one do I pick and what do I do? And one of my favorite, a good friend of mine, she's passed now, my friend Dee, she did creativity and healing was her work. And she was going to write a book, and maybe I'll write it for her. We'll see. The title is going to be It's Okay to Throw the First One Away. And so what if you do it wrong? What's wrong? Art, there's no right or wrong with art until somebody decides, right, that there's right or wrong. So what I want you to do is kind of put aside your your I can't do it and your buts and, what the heck is my creative voice, and kind of put that aside. If you're willing, maybe rub your hands a little bit, put them on your heart. I like to push in because it's like a weighted blanket. If you're willing, go ahead and close your eyes. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine some creative thing, some project maybe that's been sitting there forever that, once I get more creative, or, I'm going to start that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to finish that. And what comes up? What comes up for you? And let's dance with that a little bit. Let's dance with that a bit. And just kind of breathe into it. And we're kind of like, what is it that you're trying to tell me? What is it that I need to heal? I am a creative person in my own way. And maybe talk a little bit to that anger, that frustration, that paralyzed part, and say, what am I not hearing? What is the voice you want to have? What way do you want to be creative? What is your life as a craft? What does that look like? What does that feel like? All right, take some nice deep breaths. I want you to come back. Hopefully you have a pencil. If not, a pen will do. And then you got some paper right there. I'd like you to draw what came up from there. What came up? And did you get some guidance about what your craft is and who you are as a creative person?
Drawing.
You can write, you can dance, you can sing. I don't care. Adriana, did you want to say something?
That before you said the creative thing and what we want to do, I was receiving the message to drawing because a long time ago I bought a book, all the pencils, everything to start drawing, and I have them just in the closet waiting for me to start doing it. So I'm going to take them out today. See?
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
So what I want to support you in doing is maybe creating a little space where you could have that. And so you don't have to go dig it out. Maybe a little creative space where you can go.
I have to start imagining the creative space.
Wonderful, wonderful. Because, if you have to drag it out, guess what? You ain't gonna.
See, that's true.
And our dear Maria, she's really into research. So I've done some extensive research on journaling. And what I have discovered, I work with people, all over the place, all kinds of, levels or whatever. And what I have discovered in my research is the more expensive the journal, the less likelihood you'll write in it. Why is that? I'm not good enough for this journal? What if I mess it up?
It's too pretty. It's too pretty.
Right?
Why would I do that?
Too pretty for me to use.
Too pretty for me.
Okay, so there's your shadow right there. So I want you to be really looking. So your assignment will be, right? Is this first you kind of have to start noticing, where do I get stutter stepped, right? It's like, no, I can't do that. I don't, and comparing myself to somebody else as an artist. I am really clear. I can create processes like nobody else. And so I really trust that. And that is my craft. When I was asked by this person I adore to come do a craft at this craft fair, there was a moment I went, oh crap, okay, I got to make up a craft that she'll accept. And then I went, you know what? That's not me. This is my craft. And she immediately responded. As a matter of fact, they want me to come back and work with the National Guard leadership. It's like, whoa, who saw that coming? Why? Because I danced with it, right? And I stepped into it and I didn't step away from it. So one of the things Patty, who has been with us here before, she is doing a 30-day grief process. And tomorrow, Maria is day 30, which I'm very excited to see that. So I've really been looking at grief with all of stuff. And I do believe that shadow part is that grief part, is that part that we're not dealing with. So I want to give you all an amazing, amazing gift. I don't know if you will use this or you'll share this with somebody, but yesterday, Patty interviewed the people from Loose Ends. And what this is, this started 3 years ago, where they help people, people who pass or maybe have some disability happens. They have these projects, and it started out as textiles, crafting with, yarn or, different things like that. And in 3 years, they have 37,000, they call them finishers, all over the world. And so how exciting is this? If you're not a person who's, a crafter, how I'm going to be part of this is I'm going to help them find finishers. And because they have so many people who want to help, right, and deal with the grief and help bring that voice to light, whatever that voice is, I want to help them. They have 9 people waiting to do every one project. 9 people. So clearly there's much more projects that need to be out there. So I will bring my craft, my gift to help with that, bringing those people to the table. And it's really fascinating. One of the things, again, I highly recommend that you watch it, or we'll have to link it to here. One of the things that they talked about was they started out with, different crafts, textile crafts. People are asking them now to finish a loved one's song or loved one's story or painting or even woodworking. So what I want to support each of you in is, how do I look at the parts where I'm stopped in being creative and being crafty, whatever that looks like for you, and what's my next step in that? And I'm hoping and I'm knowing that Robin and Maria will help us with that. Before I pass on the torch here, does anybody want to say anything about what came up in that?
I think we should hear about Sonia. I'm sorry to put you
Yes.
on the spot.
But she's going to.
It's okay.
Very
Good morning.
crafty person. And she's a person that I recommended to read The Artist's Way book because she was stuck in her craft. So I want to hear your experience.
Thank you. Good morning. Well, yes, the first thing, of course, that came to mind was the book. I already started working on another book for kids, and I had this idea of I wanted to be fun from the ages from 4 to 7, because the first 7 years of the life of a kid are very important. And but I'm sorry, I have a cold and my head's a little bit stuffy, so my English gets a little bit more
It's not.
difficult.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, but I wanted to be a tool for children to learn how to handle emotions.
Mm.
And I wanted to make it in a fun but very meaningful way for kids. So it's a tough challenge for me to find the the content that is really going to impact the life of these kids within these ages. But I'm working on it, and I know I have been finding people that may support me. My daughter-in-law study gentle parenting, and she would like to contribute to this. My daughter is a psychologist working in a hospital with kids. So, things are starting to
Well, and that
Truly,
part of it, I
thank you.
want to support you in taking off some of the pressure of you. I
Uh-huh.
want to support you in looking at this. Your inner child is being healed through this. And what
Exactly.
exercises,
Exactly.
what techniques would your inner child like to play with? And
Oh,
move
that's
her in here and not make it just to be this adult who can't figure it out. Your inner child will has lots of great help for you.
Yeah,
I
I
will
think that's a great point because
absolutely.
we all have an inner child that maybe never got to do crafts, never got to do different things that maybe we
Or
wanted
deal
to in
with
our
their
lives.
emotions, like you want to help
Yeah.
them do.
And you know what? You're never too old to pick up a crayon.
That's true.
Never
Or
too
a
old to pick up a
toy.
And
crayon.
The
Yeah.
toy. You're never too
absolutely.
old. Just saying.
Or a toy. I still to this day have a toy collection that even when my kids were little, I had my own toy box and it was stuff that I bought that I would let my kids play with, but they knew about boundaries because they're like, "Oh, if I mess this up, Mom's not going to let me go and play with her toys." So I
I love
always,
that.
as a child there were
And
things.
that my toys. I love that, Robin,
My
because it's
toys. Yeah, they
important
were
that
my toys. And I still have toys. And I love to go to the toy section. And every once in a while, I'll just buy myself something because it delights me. Because we're going to talk about that today, about the delightful things. So it's
Eugenia.
important that we feed that for ourselves because it's really important that, oh, I'm too old to have that. No, I mean, do not estimate the power of a puppet.
Well, again, that inner child never
Absolutely.
goes away. Eugenia, do you
Well,
have to say?
Amy, if I may, when you spoke about healing the inner child in one of my sessions with Maria Isabel, she asked me, what did I like to do when I was in the ages of about 5 years old? And it is so true in that moment, it really hit me because I love to create stories,
Mm,
imaginary stories, and I also wrote poems. So that was very revealing and wonderful. One of the many revelations in my sessions with Maria Isabel. Yeah.
woohoo! See that
Thank
right.
you.
You already knew. You already knew that she want this is you're doing it for her. It looks like you're doing it for other kids, and they'll benefit too. But it's really for you.
You know,
Well,
I have
well,
a
Robin, hold on a
therapy.
second.
I have a therapy to increase your creativity, writing, and expressing yourself through it. So come and visit me.
I will. My pleasure. Thank you.
there you go. The invitation has been set. There you go. Yeah, do not underestimate, what we did as a kid and even for what we I want to say allowed to do because I mean when you're little sometimes it is what you're allowed to do. So just being in that place of like, yeah, if I could get whatever I wanted and I wanted to do that, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it. It's like I always wanted to paint in the walls of my bedrooms, and my mom and dad were like, no, you're not going to paint in the bedroom. So I now here at my flower shop, I've had a full rooms that I painted murals and all kinds of stuff on because it was some of that something within myself that I just wanted to go ahead and do. So I'll send some pictures on our stuff about some of the ways that I did just nature murals and things like that are a part of my store. So
Beautiful. Again, we're gonna,
Wonderful.
Eugenia, and then really great example of you were stunted as a child, and you did healing to move it forward. Okay, Eugenia. Yes, ma'am. Here she go. Come on in. There she goes.
Yes, I wanna get a feedback about that. When we, I think Amy's right. You have a creative way in any expressions of the. For example, for me, would be dancing, also painting and cooking.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and then people don't, and gardening. People don't put it in that way because yes, cooking is creative. No baking because baking you have to
Oh, no,
be
that's too precise.
layered. But cooking is really, really creative. And I remember as a kid, in kindergarten, I still remember being like, well, uh, cooking, doing a fruit salad in the school. And of course, everybody put the hands in there, and you can figure how that salad was. But I remember that with all, you know, very clear in my mind.
Beautiful.
That's it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. So again, my goal here was kind of to shake you up a little bit and start thinking about what are my unfinished projects? Where is my creativity? Where am I crafting? And don't let anybody else tell you what that looks like or does not look like. Maria, are you ready?
Right. So I am, we're talking about what comforts me or comforts you, right? And I am very mental. If you know me, I'm a Gemini Virgo rising. How mental could I be, right? And some Libra somewhere in there. So I'm totally mental. But I've been discovering, and thanks to the work that Robin, Amy, and I do, how nature is your true healer, right? And it's also a form of creation. So, what do I do? Well, first of all, I learned a lot of things when I was a little kid. My dad loved gardening, and he got that from his mother, right? And I remember when I was a little kid, I thought my dad was being abusive. We were four kids, and he would take us out into the garden to pull weeds, all the weeds in all of us. And of course, we all were protesting and saying, I don't want to do this. And my grandma was there silently, just in the Asian position, you know, for hours, just silently. And she told me, doing this movement and being in silence just calms your mind. But I have learned also that by doing that, I was strengthening my boundaries. I was strengthening the boundaries of the garden and the boundaries of myself. Where are my weeds that are producing a lot of cortisol and getting my mind all tangled up, right? So, this is one of my tips forever. When I lived in apartments, I made sure that if I have a small bank balcony or a big window, it was going to be dilapidated with plants and flowers. And since COVID, since I don't have an office anymore and I do Zoom work, between clients, what do I do? I go out, pull weeds for 10, 15 minutes. Believe me, it is the release so big because that stops me from thinking about my client and going with new eyes to the next, let alone it drains whatever I was working with this client and it grounds me completely. And I was asked not long ago by one of my friends, she said, how interesting pulling weeds and not actually putting plants in the soil. And I said, yes, it's weird, but I think I need that release into Mother Earth to set boundaries. And at some point, when none of my brothers or sisters wanted to do the work, I remember with my grandma, I would say, can we go out and pull some weeds? And she would be there, my companion, pulling weeds. And I remember asking her, it seems like weeds are always here and they will never end. And she would say to me, those are the challenges of life. They will always be there. You need to develop an eye when to get them out or when to save them. Because not all weeds are bad. Weeds that will put nitrogen into your soil, right? But also the weeds, it's very interesting because when I feel like this impulse to go out and grab the weeds, what's happening inside of me? What is this mirroring me? What are my emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, and relational boundaries? It is self soothing, but also it is grounding. The other thing that I love is that I get dirt in my hands. So I'm making a direct connection to Mother Earth, and it engages all all of my 51 senses because I could feel my plants. Are they healthy or not? If the weeds are not healthy, that's telling you something about the soil. And it's telling me something about the soil of my house or myself. So when I see weeds that are not doing great, I'm like, I think I should check my intestines. I don't think the soil in my intestines are being friendly to my bacteria. And it's usually true. So if you go out in this creative way and look at your plants and your trees, they will tell you so much about what's within you. So this connecting and direct connection creates both a sense of accomplishment and connection to something so much larger than ourselves. Okay. So, gardening, I don't know if you like gardening or not, but if you're here in the Flowerful Living, probably you do. Also, I noticed that this repetitive state of and rhythmic weeding pattern was a meditation, just trying to get the anxiety of my body. And going back to my mental state, Japanese in the 80s noticed that all of the workers, that was the highest production time in Japan. Everybody was focused in being productive, but they wouldn't go home. They went home, they couldn't relax. So it was a perennial state of. So they suggested, why don't we ask them to go to a forest or a garden for half an hour? They found out that 20 minutes in nature gets the cortisol down to baseline. So, and they actually have a name for that, um, say, nature therapy that they use. So, if you work in a Japanese company or anywhere in the world, make sure you connect 20 minutes, even with your little plant in your apartment, looking at it from different perspectives and see what is reflecting to you. So, doing this practice will help you to have healthy boundaries and staying connected and grounded to earth. And again, I live in an apartment. Go into adoration mode with that unique little plant, even if it's a cactus in your apartment, and place to see what's reflecting of you and touch it, grab it, hold it. How can I connect with Mother Earth through you. So, my homework to you this week is learn to clear your central nervous system using nature. Maybe try pulling some weeds. But if you don't want to get messy and get dirt in your hands, well, try to look at your plants in your place and love them and see what they have to tell you. And anybody wants to make a comment about this, otherwise, Robin will give us a great talk.
Yeah, does anybody have anything that came up for you about the weeds? I think it's a very profound thing to kind of ponder about that if it's something you've never thought about, I think. You guys are good.
Well,
Well, one thing I wanted to talk about that with Sonia, did you have something?
yes, I was this month in Utah visiting my kids, and we do a lot of hiking and connecting to the earth. And I was telling my daughter that, and Fabi, that when I'm there, I always feel so invigorated. I feel so much stronger, healthier when I'm in Utah. And thanks to everything you're sharing, it's obviously, the connection to nature is just very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
I'm,
you.
I'm prepared. Sonia is moving to Utah. That's why she has called today. Yes.
Well, and part of that too is, I'll put some pictures of Utah around your place. I'm seeing it every day.
That's a
And
that's a better idea, Robin.
yes, yes, because it goes back to one time that I was reading stuff with Deepak Chopra, and they'd done a study of a bunch of seniors that were in a care facility, and they basically switched everything around, and they basically made it 20 years prior to when they were actually living there. The music was 20 years before, pictures were 20 before, even TV and all that, and people started reverting back on a cellular level in their bodies to being younger. So
Ah,
we know,
it's
yes.
interesting.
Yeah, so there's a whole entrainment that goes with all that kinds of stuff too. And also with the potted plants, I think it's interesting because they've done studies with potted plants in basically giving them to people in hospitals when they were getting better, just like, oh, as they get to a certain point where they're just kind of hanging out waiting to leave, and they give people potted plants and say, could you take care of this plant while you're getting better? And they got better twice as fast. So this
Eugenia?
whole nurturing, yeah, there's this whole nurturing about being able to have something living next to me that I'm taking care of. And it just reminds me of the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama says, if you feel like you're not making a difference, go do something good for somebody else. So it's that loving energy that we're giving from our hearts, and we're connecting with each other. And nature just is all about that, about the caring and the connection with everything that we do. So that was, just really great with that. So we're going to talk now about
Robin, hold on a
what,
second. Hold a
sure.
second. Eugenia, you had something?
Yeah, precisely. I saw the video that Marisabel was talking about the
Mhm.
Japanese, about Japan, but I have something else to say about it. Last year I went to Chicago and we went to outside and I was in the sun for quite a while. And after the trip, I was so energized because I'm here in the apartment most of the time working here inside. I do go out, but it wasn't the same. Therefore, the sun is also can fuel us of energy. That's my feedback. Thank you.
That's great feedback. Yeah, getting out in the morning, like the first hour or so, is so important because we're getting the infrared rays that actually really affect our circadian rhythms. So it's something really important to get out there and have that morning walk, even like, that 10 to 20 minutes. If you can just be outside moving around, it's something really helps to energize the body. There's more energy that first hour of sunrise than pretty much any other time of day. So something can be really, really beneficial for that too. And there's a reason why Hawaiians stop at sunset. You go to the Hawaiian Islands, everybody stops and watches the sunset. It's the same thing. You've got these we're changing with the different rays and all that with our rhythms, and it's something that we just intuitively need. That's really, really important, especially if you're going to be in front of a screen most of the day. It's really important to switch gears and being able to do that. And just as a side note, getting the Blu-ray, the blue tinted glasses that really protect with the different things that we're getting from the screens and things like that is really, really important too. So there's all kinds of things that we're finding on just a physical level that can really help us to get back into our natural rhythms. But a lot of it, just like get outside and hug a tree. That's always a really great way to do that, or just be out and find a garden or find people that you can connect with community garden, just like Flowerful Living. We're a community with all of us taking care of our own personal gardens, our little plots, and having that be something that can really nurturing that. So I am delighted to be talking today about flowers and delights and being able to be in creative stuff. So I love that we're talking about Artist Way. And I've done Artist Way, and I've actually facilitated Artist Way to about 3 or 4 times over my lifetime since I've experienced it. So it's a really wonderful book. It's a really wonderful program because it's really about being from a place of self-care for yourself and realizing, how do I limit myself? So if you've never been exposed to anything with the Artist Way, I really encourage you to kind of just check that out and see if that's something that you might want to be dabbling in. There's all kinds of exercises. So with Artist Way, there's a couple different practices. One is you journal 3 pages of longhand writing every day. And I think part of that helps us. And I put a little book together one time that was basically, my first page is basically I can be de-junking and kind of putting things out there. The second one is basically just me kind of collecting and kind of thinking about you. And then the last page is a reframing. I'm kind of reframing my day, reframing kind of where I am with my week or my month, and being able to look at that. So I'll go ahead and send a clip of that too. I think I still have that, and I can send that out to you guys too, of just what the basic pages look like. So it's something that really can help us to be connecting with that. And I think that really goes into talking about delightful surprises and looking at a life in a different kind of way. When I first met Maria, I don't know where I found it from. I think Spirit gave it to me, but I always ask Spirit pretty much every day, thank you for this wonderful day with wonderful gifts, delightful surprises, magical, and miracles. And I look for them during the day. It's that whole old thing of you think you're going to buy a certain kind of car, and all of a sudden you see it everywhere. It's like we have that level of intention that we put something out there that starts putting it in front of us because it's something that we're caring about. And so there's a sense of desire about it. So imagine desiring wonderful gifts and delightful surprises every day. Boy, they show up. And sometimes it's those little itty bitty things. One thing I've done lately is looked at my wins. And it's like I drove from my house to my shop, and it was a delightful drive, and I was protected. A couple people tried to take me out while I was going, but gosh, I made it here safe, and it's good. So that was a win. So we can just really look at all the little things that we're doing every day, and it could be very small wins. I made myself a sandwich and I enjoyed it. Win. I had the things that I needed to make the sandwich. Win. So it's all these little things that we can be doing that really help us to look in those things of gratitude and being in a place of connection that really can help us to be able to do that. And I was really delighted that we had this thing as a practice, because I was looking at here I've been doing floristry for over 40 years and looking at it from just kind of being just, it's the job, it's the work. But yet, what have I been gifted with? Oh my gosh, being able to be a florist and have this, I really feel like it's my calling from God, wanting me to be able to just remind people of the beauty and everything that can be created through flowers and just all different kinds of stuff. And my part of my thing that I really love to do is I like to have a plan B. What does that mean? That means, somebody has an idea of something that could be looking a certain way, and I really want to be curious and be open to a delightful surprise of maybe how could that turn out? And one thing I've noticed the last couple of years is, you think, oh, you've been doing this for 40 years. It must be just the same thing, the same way, all that. And it's like, no, it's been different almost every day. I find a different way of doing something, whether it's cleaning things or designing things or just doing things in just a kind of a different way. So it's just about being, I'm very open to what that can look like. and I don't have expectations. Getting rid of the expectations of what something should or shouldn't be, or having a certain level of, that level of perfectionism. It's just like, I'm just going to be in this place of just like, what's here to surprise me? How can I be curious about this process? And what does that look like? Is there a different way for me to do it that could be, that much more fun? Or that for me, it's like in tune with the customer that I'm working with, and how that could be something that can really be something that's connecting with that. One of the things that really kind of hurts my heart is a lot of younger people, because of Instagram and Pinterest and all these other kinds of things. They see all these levels of creativity, and like a bride will come in and she goes, "Oh, I really love this." And she'll see some kind of an idea, but yet I look at that and just go, but we could make it more for you. We could make it more what it would be, more of a personal statement of who you are and what you like. And a lot of them will just say, "Oh, no, no, I want it just like that." And I think part of that is like, okay, well, we can make it just like that. I think part of that's a sense of security, or just like, I don't want any kind of deviance from that, because I know that that's acceptable and that's kind of what I want to have anyway. So I'm going to make that okay. So I think some of that is being able to, like we're talking about, let me be curious. Let me have my inner child come out and do something that would be really
Robin,
creative. Yeah.
can you lead us through something about how you do what you're talking about?
Sure. So, I think part of it is just really being open. For me, I'm very connected to my, spirit speaking to me on a continual basis, as much as I'm being mindful about it. So I'm always asking, ask and you shall receive. So it's a matter of like, spirit, show me a new way that I could be doing this. And it might come from a video, it might come from somebody talking about something, or just an idea will pop in my head, and I'll just lean into that and follow that, whatever that is. And sometimes it can feel like a breadcrumb of just something easy, but it's, to me, it's basically just I lean in and spirit matches me. I
Okay,
lean in and
let's,
spirit
Robin,
shows
hold on that a
something.
minute. I lean in and spirit matches me.
Yeah, we have to be in a place of movement, and whether it's on a physical, mental, or spiritual level, of having something to where we're connected with it, because part of it's showing our free will and the way we want to be connected to something.
So how do
So,
you keep track of that? So you're leaning in, your
mhm.
spirit's meeting you, then what do you do, Rob?
So like, this is idea just popped in my head. I'm looking for a certain kind of container, and then I get the idea of like, oh, I should go to this store. Okay, I'm going to go to this store and I'm going to look around. What's getting my attention? I'm going to feel like I need to go down this aisle or that aisle. I mean, I've gone to bookstores and known that I needed to get a book there, and I literally go from like, I had one place that used to be in Los Angeles called the Bodhi Tree, and I felt like I needed to get a book from about Hawaiian traditions from there. And I knew that they had it, but I didn't know where. Right. Just the sense of I knew it was there. Something was there for me. Okay.
Robin,
So
let me share something along the lines for me too. I was on a cruise in Japan, and there was a
mhm,
library, and I had gotten in there and read a couple books, and then I got, like you said, this hit. I needed something for myself for work, and I wanted my work, and I went in, and there was the book "Feelings Buried Alive Never Die," which I had read a million years ago. So I pulled it out. It wasn't part of the library, and they said, "If you want it, it's yours." Uh
there
huh.
you go. Yeah. And I had the same thing happen too with something like that. I was actually, this is really bizarre too. I was at Universal Studios, and they have like this whole shopping area that's outside the park. It's like their like promenade that they have, and they used to have a bookstore called the a Startup Crow, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I went into the Startup Crow, and I was feeling like, oh, I need to get a book on spirituality. Just let me go to the spirituality section. And then I winded up finding a book from Edgar Casey. And it was about connecting to spirit through meditation or contemplation. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this sounds very interesting. I didn't really know anything about Edgar Casey at the time. And so I pulled it out and I said, this feels like the right book. I took it up to the register, and they were like, this isn't supposed to be here. You can have it. And I was like, oh, okay. And so what I did was I actually had it for 3 or 4 years and kind of spent time with it. And then the book told me it wanted to go back. So I made a special trip to go down to just be there for the day. And I had it in my bag, and I just put it back into the spiritual section so somebody else could get that book. and it would be the right time and the right place for them because it was gifted to me. I wanted to pass it forward. So it's just that kind of a thing. So just like going back to the Bodhi tree, I'm walking through, I'm looking for the Hawaiian book. And there was like, they had like an old house that they started at the beginning. And then they had a newer section for all the newer books and stuff that they had put in front of the house on the front property, a part of it. So I'm in the back of it. I know I need to be in the back house. So I'm in the back house. I'm walking around. So I'd walk into a room and I go, is it in here? They say, no. Okay. And I go into the another hallway and I go, is it in here? And they go, yes. And I'm like, okay, is it this wall? Yes. Okay. Is it this section? Yes. Okay. What is it? This section? No. And when it literally went up like 3 levels in the middle of the book, and I wanted to find this whole book about the Huna energies and traditions of Hawaii that were, I still have the book today and I really get a lot out of it. So it's one of those things of just, there's something within my traditions that is a part of me as a
So
person with
Robin,
my
I just want
mind
to
stuff.
highlight the process that you did. You know, it
Right.
wasn't just, oh, la, 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 la,
It
la,
just
but,
went up in
but
my
you
head.
kept
I had to
asking
work at it a
questions,
little bit. Yeah, we
right?
had to work at it a little bit. So it's just like going into I could go into a craft store, you know, you go into a Hobby Lobby or whatever you have near
Well,
you and say,
that's hell for me, but go ahead.
wow, there you go. Anyway, but just kind of walk around the store and it's like, is there something I should be making? Is there something that's making me feel excited? Am I excited about looking at these markers? Am I excited about looking at this material? Am I excited to look about these silk flowers? Something is talking to me and basically nudging me of just like, yeah, that would be great. And I might have a picture in my head after that about, oh, and then this could go with this and this goes with that, because I always tell people, and I used to not tell people, but I do nowadays. It's just like the flowers tell me what they want, where they want to be in the bouquets. They tell me how to design that. I'm a Reiki master, so part of my Reiki energy, I just ask that everything that I make basically has the proper energy that it needs and it gets sent out. I don't have to think about it because I've asked for it to just be a constant thing that's just a part of my process that I do. So, you know, whether you're healing or doing art or writing something, you can ask, you know, may the highest and best energies that I'm creating this be something that goes in that. I heard one time
So
from somebody that was a channeling that talked about, you know, going into a gallery and looking at paintings or signature energies. It's like codes. They're looking at codes of energy that actually can transform you. So just think of like you go into a gallery and you see this picture and it just changes you. And you're like, why did that change me? Because there was something that was basically put into that energy with the love and the communication of the way the paint was put together, the subject put together, the way it was structured. Yeah, we can break it down and talk about, you know, structures and stuff for art all day long about just theories and why things work and don't work. But it affects you on a soul level. It's a soul signature that really can connect you to something beyond anything you would like. I never knew that. And now I've
so there's
discovered
lots of
something
different
about
ways, right?
myself.
Right, for you to get, you know, you're having your own soothing. Something that I want to toss out to be aware of. I think this is next week or however you want. What part of what Robin was talking about, she was a vehicle for others' miracles, wins, and delights. So it isn't
And I
just
don't have
you
to know it. I
receiving
don't
them,
have to
right?
know
But
how
you're
that
also
turns
a
out.
vehicle for them too.
Yeah, I don't have to know anything about that. I just, do I feel good about the way that I put it together and does it feel right for the way that I put it for that person? It's like, you know, making corsages for a prom. And I design it to go with the dress and whatever that they have with that and just wishing them a wonderful, you know, evening, whatever that looks like for them. So it's that kind of a thing of just like kind of like a well wishing of sending something out from just a level of me working with energy and putting it out there for somebody and not having to be connected to what that looks like in the final outcome, because it's just like I'm just a part of the lights that's going to lead them on their way of their connections that they have, you know.
Right.
And going, go ahead, Amy.
Well, I'm just saying we need to tie it together with a pretty bow.
Okay. So, you know, and you know, and it's a typical thing. You're like, that's not what I was going to present. So I'll present it next week what I was going to talk about. But that's about it. Just that levels of, you know, we have all these wonderful things that are keeping us in balance. It's balancing our cortisol. It's helping us to be open to the oneness of things that we can have. And I know, and I invite, you know, wonder and delight to just be a part of my day, you know, in just whatever way it wants to show up. And I don't know what that is until it just shows itself. What a wonderful way to live your day. I'm just open to those wonderful experiences. So just really want to invite you to being able to do that with everything. So we're going to go ahead and on the after we get done, there'll be my homework for you guys is like 3 different questions that you can ask yourself. What self-soothing practice that can I feel connected to with myself, that I want to be in just that place of sharing in the oneness of all that, and having it be something that's connected to me. And then how might crafting or earth connection or creative practices support me in my journey, in the way I can be just supporting myself and supporting others? And what boundaries are you being called to establish now when you're looking at your weeds, or just like the way that I'm going to protect myself and create some boundaries so I have more time to be crafty. I've been listening to John Muir, who was a naturalist that just loved Yosemite. And one of the things he said is, we need to maintain our wildness. If we don't have wildness within this, it's something that can really limit ourselves in just the way we're creative and sharing and joyous in the world, because nature is joyous and wants to be wild.
So
Mhm.
part of what I just got was, yay, it's great to set boundaries, but being wild, sometimes you need to release boundaries.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
wildness
my
can be
wild
a
card.
boundary. Hmm. It's a different way of looking at boundaries, being wild as opposed to having it be fenced in. But definitely, it's another way of having a sense of boundaries. It's like we're going to be wild, and that's the way it's going to be.
I love that. Maria, is there anything you wanted to say before we jump off?
Well, know your weeds. Which ones are helping you to grow and which ones you need to get rid of. Choose your craft so you can have peace of mind and grow your soul.
Beautiful.
So that's it.
And
Sing.
sometimes a dandelion belongs in your tea.
It
Yeah.
does. And if you have
Absolutely.
And if you have dandelions growing around you, it's an invitation that there may be some kind of a detox that needs to happen, whether that's something internally for yourself on a spiritual level, or your environment. It's asking to basically have a nice spring cleaning, no matter what time of year it is.
Well, thank you all for joining us. We are so honored to have you here with us. And we're just doing what we're called to do, and it's gonna take us wherever we're supposed to go. So thank you for being on the ride with us, whether you're in the room now or seeing us later.
Good.
Thank you
Remember
very much.
to subscribe, give us a like, and go to Flowerful Living Wellness Community on Facebook and here on
And
YouTube.
leave comments. We want to hear, how is this helping you? How are you growing?
Yeah, and send pictures of your crafts and the things that you put together. No matter what it is. Whether
Yeah,
it's a
right.
great
When
meal
you open
or
the door, to the closet and took out your craft.
Yeah.
yep.
Hey,
We'll
everybody. Thank
see
you.
you
Yeah,
next time.
that's another craft. How you put
That's
together
another
yourself,
craft.
your clothing, your hats, your scarf, your
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely.
That's crafty.
Absolutely.
I
That
agree.
is being very crafty. I agree. Fashion is very much a craft as well.
I got my heart
Your
Thank you.
on. I got heart all
earrings.
over me today. That's my craft. There you go. Jewelry. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.